Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. 5 games in the NBA here on Saturday. Getting a little bit of a late start as we are late to get these lines out for sure from these books. But I've got matchups and some bets for 3 of these 5 games so far. Just waiting on more news from that Lakers game with a ton of injury reports. But like I said, 3 games, bunch of bets from those, and I'm breaking them down for you to help you make your bets here on Saturday as well. Really good day on Friday. We'll go through that. Could have been a great day. Just missed a couple of the alt line bets there and one of the parlays. Other than that, looking at a really great day on the straight. So I'm going to run through that with you really quickly. Go ahead and give this video a like if that all sounds good to you, and let's get right into it. A lot of bets on the card here, 18 of them to win 1.6 units. This is partly why you play volume is I can't guarantee all these bets. I'm doing my best to project them. And then when I get the odds in my favor, go ahead and win a couple of units on the day here. So feeling really good about the record now in the season, 47 units up. Quick look at how we did on the wins. Jalen Wells had 3 boards at the half and went under because he was guarding James Harden. And we continue to look for those types of things when you have guards that are guarding guys out on the wing like James Harden, who are just going to be standing 35 feet from the basket on most plays, whether they have the ball or not. Great to go under on the boards as they're always out of position for those rebounds. Luke Kennard and Santi Aldama there got both those Grizz in before even Bane was officially ruled in. I thought there was a good shot he wouldn't play after getting a late questionable tag. He was ruled in, but didn't do much, right? He was sort of taken out of the game, and Kennard and Santi Aldama did a lot of the work and clean up there to try to keep that game close against the Clips. And then Fred, really great game. Going to continue to eye him against the Heat. So whenever you get those 2 Rockets and Heat games a year, Fred is a great matchup as he gets the Duncan Robinson matchup, or whomever is the worst defender on the wing. That's who guards Fred. The Heat put their better defenders on guys like Jalen Green and even to a degree Amin Thompson. So yeah, we're going to keep looking for Fred in those good matchups against the Heat. And then PJ under on the dimes, keep going there. We'll probably have this at 1.5 in the next one. 0 potential assists in his last 2 games and only 4 potential assists over his last 3 or so. I think actually 2 potential assists over his last 3. So really not looking to pass at all. Very good on the points there. Screwed us on the boards. We'll talk about that in a sec. Cade loves playing Dallas. He's from Dallas, whether he's at home in Detroit or at home in Dallas. He loves playing the Mavs. Keep going to him. He had 35 last night. Hasn't scored less than 33 against the Mavs in the last 3 matchups against them. Daquan Jeffries keeps getting 30-plus minutes, so we're going to keep banking on him even when they're getting blown out, even when they're playing the best defense in the league like the Thunder. Doesn't matter. Daquan Jeffries is getting 30 to 36 minutes. They're trying him out for next year and trying to see if he's any sort of a valuable asset in the NBA. So we're going to keep taking him at about 10-plus points as he's taking enough shots to get us there. Miles Bridges, great under in a bad matchup against the Thunder with no help outside of like Daquan Jeffries or let's say KJ Simpson, Nick Smith, right? Like Mark Will and LaMelo rather were both out for the Hornets. So it was a nice under on the points for the primary guy against the Thunder. You see what I'm saying? Every time you get the primary ball handler against the Thunder, going to be an under on the points for these days and probably in the playoffs as well. Hauser was a great look here. We got his props super late, but got those into the VIP for a little ladder on the threes. 1.5 against the Jazz was insane, regardless of whether he's starting or not. He was coming off a game of hitting 9 of 19 threes against the Jazz the last time these 2 teams faced off not that long ago. So we loved him on the little ladder there to get us the cash. Looking at the losses here, Bam, total misread. I mean, he was good on the boards, but he wasn't good under on the assists. Had like 3 of them at the half. So we took the L there pretty quickly, but it was a no sweat because we didn't have to sweat it. He had 4 by the half, I think. So we were good to go and just chalk it up as a loss. Fred, I put a half a unit on the plus 126 for the dimes. He had gotten 6 assists in the previous matchups against them, was averaging 15.5 potential assists against them, and had 3 at the half. So we were looking good for halfway to our money there for plus 126. Couldn't end up coming through, but he got all the points there. That's why we made sure we got a points bet alongside the assist for Fred that you saw we cashed. The boards for PJ, I guess in part it was because he wasn't guarding Tobias Harris, and that was the risk I took. I really thought strongly that he would be guarding Tobias, and that would put him in great position for the boards. It was not the case, so he went cleanly under on the rebounds there. And then Stephon Castle had a great game, but he didn't score. He got a ton of dimes. He had 6 at the half and 14 to end the game. Maybe if we had put the points and assists together, obviously, but he hadn't been diming up. He was scoring and taking all the shots and just missed a lot of them in a good matchup. So we take the L. It's stuff that happens. Can't really win them all. And it was still a good read in my estimation. Donnie and the Cavs are struggling. Really thought this was going to be the game. They turned it around against the Suns. Really thought we were going to see him play like 36 minutes, but it didn't even matter because they lost by more than 15 points. So Donnie was a non-factor in that game. He had, I think he was like 2 for 14 going into the fourth quarter when that game was pretty much already over. Aaron Wiggins, they played shy a ton. They ended up starting Wiggins, which actually hurt. I thought he was going to come off the bench and then get a lot more minutes in a blowout. They blew him out by 40 or 35 or whatever, but we didn't get there with him. Only 11 points. I really thought the dimes were going to be a good look when he was on the floor without SGA. He had hit 90% over 2.5 dimes when he had played this season without Jalen Williams. This was the first time, or second time rather, in like 15 games without J-Dub that Aaron Wiggins, not even 15 games, fewer games than that, but it was the first time he had gone under. He had been doing really well without J-Dub on the floor. And so Wiggins fails to cash for us, but still feel really good, like I said, about where we're at, and do want to offer you guys an opportunity to jump into the VIP for 50% off. Still have code Drummond available if you do want to use that. So use code Drummond. It's going to get you 50% off your first 2 months in the VIP if you want to come in there. Looking to get over 60 before we get to the playoffs. Got 3 weeks to make about 13 units here. So feeling really good about how much effort we're putting into reading these injury reports. So let's go ahead and get into all this stuff. I got matchups and plays here for 3 of the 5 games on Saturday. First up, we got the Dubs and the Hawks, and we should know Steph is out. He hurt his tailbone there in that game against the Raptors the other night, and now we're not going to see him for a little bit of time. We need an MRI. Doesn't look like there's any breaking or structural damage to the back there for Steph, but he ain't playing in this game, I'll tell you that. So we're going to wait for that MRI on Monday, I believe. But in this one, we're going to have Moody and Young matched up against each other. Trey's probable. There are a few G Leaguers questionable right now for the Hawks, so I'm kind of staying away from Hawks bets. Most of the stuff I'll have for you here is going to be for the Dubs, because we know who's playing for them and who's not in terms of Curry. We do have a questionable tag on Gary Payton Jr., relevant to the Trae Young stuff, I will say, but I don't even know if Trey's playing. He's listed as probable, but then we have all these G Leaguers that seem like they might be a go for the Hawks. So I'm staying away from their stuff, like I said. But we know that Daniels will be out there on B pods, Brandon Pajemski, and then Jimmy Butler and Risa Shea. That could switch a little bit. You could see Risa Shea on pods. You could see Dyson Daniels on Jimmy Butler. That wouldn't surprise me either. But one of those two will be the matchup there between those 4 guys. And then Green and Mo Gay. And I do think Quentin Post starts for Okongwu. If we get somebody else in there like Gary Payton Jr., then everybody moves down, right? And Green is on Okongwu, Butler on Gay, Pajemski on Reese, blah, 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 blah. You get it, right? But everybody kind of moves down if we have Gary Payton in there, because he'll be guarding Trae Young at that point. But the things that I'm looking out here for as a result of this stuff, I've got about 2 to 3 plays. I am looking at a guy in the Hawks. I forgot that I'm still looking to get a bet down on him after I see, is Trae playing? Are these guys for the G League going to come up and take some spots? But I'm looking at Daniels. I'm looking at Jimmy Butler. So let's dive into what I've got using Props Madness. As always, going to be using Props Madness here. Like I mentioned, this is the #1 sports betting tool for all things hoops. So make sure that if you do want to jump in and have this one-stop shop platform, so you don't really need to go be searching for all these different sites to find the stats you need, use code LYB to get in on the action. You will get a free trial for 7 days if you want to test it out before you pay a dime. And then you will go ahead and get 25% off as well on your first month. So really good code to use there, LYB, if you want to jump on the Props Madness stuff. Let's look at this Dubs and Hawks game. Should mention, I'm skipping over the Nets and Pacers. Not even going to have enough time for this episode to get out to most of you to see, to get ahead of the bets for this game, I would imagine. Plus, just tire fire of a game. So I'm staying away from that one on a Saturday. But I got the Dubs and I got the Hawks. And let's assume that Trae Young and Dyson Daniels are playing. First thing I'll give you is the over, because I'm sure you're much more interested in overs than you are unders usually. And I think we go to the boards for Dyson Daniels this time, but we go over on the 5.5. And the key here is that Steph Curry is not playing. Right. In the last game, he did get the 6 boards and he was guarding Steph the whole time. And like I say earlier in the matchup stuff, right, like when I was talking about under on the boards for Jalen Wells guarding James Harden, that's sometimes what you look at for Dyson when he's guarding guys like Steph Curry. But Steph ain't walking through that door. So Dyson Daniels is going to be in a much better position to get rebounds in this game than he obviously otherwise would be. On the season, when he's played without Jalen Johnson, right, and he's played with Trae Young, he's at a pretty good number here on the board. 6.2 rebounds here. Let's make sure we have all the games with double J. 19 of 32 games that he's gone over 5.5 boards at 6.1 rebounds without Jalen Johnson on the season. And this is going to be a good situation for him. There's not going to be that much height for the Dubs on the season. They're 17th allowing rebounds, and they've gotten a lot better since Jimmy has come back, but there's still probably going to be a good amount of long shots coming from this team, even without Steph. You're just going to see guys like Pods, Buddy Hield, even Moses Moody. They're all going to come in, and there's still going to be a lot of shots going up from deep. Even Quentin Post, the center, when he's in there, very, very good 3-point shooter. So that's going to leave some long rebounds for Dyson Daniels anyway. And that's a good reason why I like him on this stuff. Like I said, head-to-head this season, I was actually with Jalen Johnson, still had the 10 rebound chances in a blowout game. And I'm not expecting them to get blown out in this one. They've been playing fairly well as of late for the Hawks. You can see a lot of their games have been pretty close, or they've won by a good amount. So I'm not worried about that. Like I said, I think the Hawks are making a push here for the play-in. And I think Dyson Daniels, with his matchup in this game, again, most likely either guarding Jimmy or B-Pods, but it's not Steph. So he will be getting a lot closer to the basket at times, playing on guarding the guy who's not always on ball, and that's really helpful for rebounds. We do need to see who's starting and what the lineups are going to look like without Steph, right? Like, is it going to be Quentin Post? Is it going to be somebody else like Gary Payton coming in and starting? But either way, Jimmy is going to be on the ball a ton in this game. And once we go over to the rebounds and assists right here, if we look at these games that he's played with the Dubs, especially as of late, man, I mean, if we just take these last roughly like 7 games here for him, we look at the stuff that he's been doing. Like, basically, let's start with the last game, right? The Raptors, obviously one of his best games so far on the rebounds and the dimes, had 22 potential assists and 15 rebound chances. But that's what you're looking at. 22 potential assists the previous game, 11 rebound chances, 8 potential assists, but 14 rebound chances. And this was in a bad loss against the Nuggets there, where they couldn't hit a shot, right? So not going to hold too much of that against him, but he's definitely getting a lot more involved on the boards, and he's clearly the lead facilitator at this point, with or without Steph. I don't think Jimmy's going to start trying to score more now that Steph is gone. If you look at the second half of this last game against the Raptors, right? Steph leaves the game in the third quarter, loses that hurts the backbone there when he lands on it really weird. Well, now we've got Jimmy in the last half of that game without Steph in roughly like 15 minutes of play. He had, I want to make sure I'm getting this right, 9 rebounds and 5 dimes in the last like 15 minutes. 9 rebounds and 5 dimes. As soon as Steph comes off the floor, they need to win the game because it's close. Jimmy's got to go do his thing. I think the Hawks are going to come out pretty hot. I don't think the Dubs are just going to come out and run away with this game, right? And so I think Jimmy's actually going to have to do a lot of that down the stretch, where he's going to have to do the late game Jimmy stuff that we're used to, which is what he did in the last one. The points at 22.5, you've kind of lost me now. It's just not something I'm expecting from him, even against the Hawks. If you want to add it, it's not like a bad bet. It's a 50-50 bet for me, so there's no edge for me to go over on the points. But both the assists and the rebounds, I'm putting them together because I think he's going to do both of them. He's coming off a triple-double. I don't see him slowing down. As we know, he's on this Dubs team after leaving the Heat after a huge stink. Every time he comes to a new team, does really, really well that first season. So we're going to keep banking on him and the effort that Jimmy's going to bring on both the rebounds and the dimes today. I'm waiting to see if we can get a good number here, but this is the under that I'm liking in this game, is the rebounds for Moses Moody. Once again, I need to wait to see if Gary Payton is playing, because if Gary Payton plays, then he's going to be guarding Trae Young. And if he's guarding Trae Young, probably going to go under on Gary Payton, some stuff there, like rebounds, maybe some other stuff for Gary, as that's going to be his sole focus. If he's not out there, Moses is going to be chasing Trae around. He is their best wing defender at that point without him around, other than Jimmy. I don't think they're going to put Jimmy, though, on Trae. You want him available for things like rebounds and playing sort of free safety on defense, similar to Draymond. But Moses is going to be the guy that's locked in on Trae. So right now we can get even money for him to go under 3.5. But again, if Gary Payton is listed out, and this might even go up to 4.5 before game tip, as it's at 3.5 to really minus odds, right? Minus 135 or so to go over right now, means it might tip over to 4.5. And if that's the case, love an under on 4.5 for like minus 140. But I also really like an under on 3.5 at even money. So if that's all the best we can get, I'll hit it. But I want to wait till I get that Gary Payton Jr. news. Diving into Wizards at the Knicks in this one. The freaking reeling Knicks, man. They are just flailing and struggling right now. Wizards struggling, but on purpose, and actually not doing that bad. But things that we need to know about here, we don't really know exactly who's going to be out there for Washington. I think the injury report might come out while I'm recording this, but I do want to say, like, this is probably the matchup. This is what we saw last game. Deuce is actually questionable for the Knicks, so we should keep that in mind. And then obviously Brunson is still out. So I do think you'll see McBride on Poole if he's in, Bridges on Keyshawn George, Hart on Middleton. Like, this is all just standard stuff. Anunoby and Champagnie. Might see a different lineup here from the Wizards, so take this with a grain of salt. I'm not betting on Wizards players. Well, I should say, I am probably going to bet on one Wizards player. I'm not going to bet on any other ones than Sarr. Sarr is the only one that I can trust to get about 25 to 28 minutes tonight. As for the Knicks, we know that they're going to play their guys full minutes because it's Tibbs. I'm just struggling to figure out how to bet on them right now. They are so freaking bad. And Cat at 28.5 points is so freaking high. I'm not even sure what to do with it right now. But let's take a look at the Sarr bet that I'm going to be probably placing down here on Saturday. Diving into props madness with this game, definitely make sure to give this video a like. Goes a super long way to help out the channel, and definitely recommend subbing to the channel as well, as I'm going to get back into these live shows coming up, but a little bit more sporadically. So you do want to make sure you're sub to the channel so you don't miss any of that stuff when they do come up. But looking at the Alex Sarr bet that I have here, it's got to be points for Sarr in this one, and you can still get 14.5 minus 120 on DraftKings. Absolutely love this, and it's really all about the minutes. So let's just look at what happens when he plays teams that are going to the playoffs and teams that aren't over his last 5 games. Pistons, playoffs, 30 minutes. Nuggets, playoffs, 32 minutes. Blazers and Jazz, terrible teams, 22 minutes, 23 minutes versus both of them. Still got his points because he's taking a ton of shots, like almost a shot a minute, essentially. But then against the Magic, good team, good enough, going to the playoffs, 28 minutes versus that team. So he's getting the bump in minutes when he plays better teams and decrease in minutes when he plays bad teams to make sure that they keep losing. They're going to make sure that they lose against this Knicks team, as hard as it might be with how bad the Knicks are. They're going to do their best to lose, but the Knicks should be good enough as the 3rd place team in the East, allegedly, to be able to handle this Wizards squad, with or without Sarr. So Sarr should be out there for more minutes because there's no real threat that they're going to lose if he's out there against a better team. That's the ideology anyway. So I am liking over on the points. You also see in the last game he played 18 points, 25 minutes. The other 2 bad games for sure. 3 for 10 from the field, 4 for 12. Not good shooting games. About 54% from the field here, so a better shooting game, but it's not like he's going to need to go 50% from the field if he's taking like 16 shots, right? And which is about what he's taking here over the course of the last few games. And when he played these games against the Knicks earlier in November and December, there wasn't really a threat that he was playing like 24 minutes. They were still playing normal rotations. They had other guys like Kuzma still on their team, and now it's a much different squad where Sarr is the focal point of the offense because he's the future, obviously, of this team. Maybe Jordan Poole will be there, maybe he won't, but Alex Sarr will be. And so will guys like Keyshawn George. So Sarr, number 2 overall pick, going to keep getting the shots up, playing against Cat. That's the 18 points you see here is because Cat is guarding him the whole time and is awful on defense, just plain awful. Not going to give him any more excuses. So I think Sarr is going to have a lot of success either hitting the 3 ball against the Knicks or going all the way to the rim, as Mitch Rob still isn't starting, and he's going to be out there, Sarr is, without Mitch Rob on the floor a ton. Third game that I'm taking a look at here is the Bucks at the Kings, and we know Dame is still out. Domas also out for the Kings. So we're going to see Ryan Rollins is the guy starting now for the Bucks at guard alongside Malik. He's going to be guarding Malik Monk. Then Taurean Prince and DeMar. That'll be the matchup there because you do want Taurean Prince on DeMar DeRozan, which means Kuzma's on Levine. Pretty good matchup for Levine. He's got a pretty high prop total. And then Giannis, probably not going to be guarded by Murray. We're probably going to see Joe Val on Giannis, but either way, that is a matchup problem. We know that that's going to be the case. Giannis is probably going to be taking the bulk of the shots in this game. That would be where I'd be going for points. But I will say, due to the matchup here and the way that we're going to see Brook Lopez playing without Dame, the best bet that I have on this game that I love the most is going to be for Brolo. Let's pull up Prop Madness and talk about it. For those of you who have followed the show for a while, you know that whenever I can find the right moment to bet on Brook Lopez rebounds, I'm going to do it. And this is going to be that moment because he is at 5.5. We can still get plus 110 on DraftKings for him to get 6. It's not a great bet just on averages. I mean, he's averaging 5 on the season, so it's not like we really expect him to get 6 consistently. And this is a good rebounding team. The Kings are 7th best limiting rebounds overall, but they are 18th limiting rebounds to the center position. And now we have Joval, good rebounder, not as good as Domas, but very good rebounder. Not going to talk trash on that. It's about Joval keeping Brook Lopez close to the basket, right? Joval is going to be continuing to play pretty close to the basket, not really doing as much assisting up top as he was on, say, the Wizards. And really, this Kings team is not really predicated on the dribble handoff like it was when it was Domas and D Fox. My point in saying that is Brook Lopez's matchup with Joval will keep him close to the basket and will allow him to get a few more rebounds. The key here, though, is Dame is out. And as Dame goes down, Brook Lopez rebounds go up on the season for sure, up to 5.7 per game without Dame. And if you look at the teams that he's getting boards against, pretty good rebounding teams out there. You got the Timberwolves, the Cavs, even the Pistons, very good rebounding teams, right? And he's still getting a ton of boards because he's being brought closer to the basket when he's playing against Rudy, when he's played against AD. Well, this was actually this was the other day. Loves playing the Lakers anyway and has a really, really good history against them. But the key here is Dame is out. And when Dame is out, he's not playing up top nearly as much for that pick and roll. He's playing down low a little bit more and in the corners and then crashing the offensive boards. On defense, he's going to be really needed down low a lot more, right? He's going to have to protect that rim and we'll be standing down there because that's also where Joval will be. So I love these moments in time where he goes up without Dame against a team where he's playing a big center that's going to be close to the rim a lot. We know he's going to have to get those boards. So at plus money, I think 5.5 boards for Brolo is a very good play today. And that's all the time I have for you guys in this one. For those of y'all in the VIP, I will be back in there jumping in today to get some of those plays out and win some more money today after the 1.6U that we won last night. Quick reminder, too, if you do want to jump in and get in on the action for the VIP, use code Drummond. Get yourself 50% off for the first 2 months that you're in, and that'll go ahead and get you into those plays and plenty of opportunities in the chat to also talk to the other guest cappers in there that are bringing looks every day with the research. Much, much appreciated to them. So best of luck to everybody today. Till I see y'all next. Happy betting.